Hi, I have a fantastic game for you, which I'm sure you haven't seen before. It contains one of the most unusual combinations I've seen, truly amazing, and the geometrical motifs and how it all works out. It's almost like a chess study, it's so perfect. And this game was played between Sergei Rublevsky with white pieces, and his opponent was very strong, Etienne Bacrot from France, who for a long time was the France #1 until MVL entered the stage. Bacrot has been over 2700, a very strong player himself. And Rublevsky with white, I mean, he's one of those Russians that, if they were from any other country, he would be constantly on their national team. But he's so strong that he actually has been on the Russian national team on many occasions, but those days are behind him. Today he's the captain of the Russian women's team and has done well. I think Russia won the European team championship in Crete, where in November, where I was with the Icelandic team, so I remember seeing him there with the Russian team. But let's move on to the game. This game was played in 2007. Rublevsky had white, and he opened with e4 as he always does. e5, bishop c4, the bishop's opening. Knight c6 by Bacrot, and we go into the Vienna. No, I'm not a big expert here, and the opening isn't really important in this game. It was rather quiet. Rublevsky accepted losing the bishop pair, but in return he got very strong pawns on the light squares, and we'll just move on to that. Knight g3, d6, queen e2, c6 and a4. Allowing black to capture on c4. This has been available for a while, so there hasn't really been any rush. And Rublevsky prefers to let the bishop be taken here so that he has a stronghold over the d5 square, and that he can play b3, bishop a3, and put pressure down the d file eventually. Rook e8 by Bacrot, rook d1, and the next few moves are in line with his plan to put pressure on the d6 pawn, the backward pawn in black's camp, on the half open file. So a very simple strategy. Of course, Bacrot realizes this strategy and he prepares himself to push this pawn eventually forward to d5. Plays a6 first. This is because after d5 and some captures, knight b5 move might become possible, so Bacrot prevents that. Rook a to d8 now. Rook d3, preparing to double on the d file. So everything in accordance with this plan. And, well, as often happens when strong players play and they both understand the plan, the plan is kind of neutralized, and here we see a mass exchange in the center, and this seems to be heading towards a draw. Rook takes e7, mass exchange on d5. Everything takes d5, and rook a to d1. Rook e to d7, and c4. Forcing the exchange on his terms, and moving forward with his queenside pawn majority, which is white's trump in this game. The opportunity to make a pass pawn on the queenside. f5 by black. And here white took on d7, but there's an interesting move here which is worth mentioning. Rook e3, and the point is, well, if f4, we take on e5 with this bishop hanging, and we're doing quite well. Black probably does best to go down a pawn like this, when he can hope that white's king position is too exposed to take advantage of the extra pawn. And the other option is to play e4 when white has the very interesting sacrifice knight takes e4. And I thought this was very cool because, okay, bishop f5 is the best move and white will eventually regain the piece, but bishop e7 is a funny blunder as rook e8 gives mate. So that was a bit of going off tangent a little bit. So let's go back to the position after f5. There's rook takes d7 played in the game. bishop takes d7 as we have to keep the e5 pawn under lock and key. Queen d3, attack on f5, protection there. And now this knight doesn't have many options. Kasparov once said that the knight on g3 is useless against the pawn on g6, which covers everything, so the knight reroutes to f1, bishop c6, knight to e3. Knight is heading towards greener pastures where it can support the queenside majority. Objectively, the position should be equal here. But they play on, and Rublevsky has a plan in mind. To queen d4 he plays queen to a5. A little bit of maneuvering, and now white pushes his queenside majority. Clear plan in his mind, and after king f7, b5. Bacrot took on b5, and c takes b5. The plan is clear to make an advanced pawn on the queenside. Bishop retreats to e4. And now queen comes back to c3 to enable the pawns to move. Bishop to d3 by Bacrot. Seemingly stopping the pawns, but I don't think so, Tim. a5. Now this defends the b5 pawn tactically, because if he were to take on b5, there's of course queen b3 check, and the bishop drops. So Rublevsky has made a lot of progress here. Bacrot plays king f6 to move out of this b3 check. Queen b3 anyway. Getting ready to push. King g7. Black decides to wait. Doesn't want to push his kingside pawns. Queen b2. And this sort of lures black into queen c5, which very importantly loses control over b8. And now this is where Rublevsky starts his combination, and I think he must have seen everything from where he played this move here, and he had to, and I think it's pretty amazing. So how do we make progress here with white? Okay, let's go. How do we break through? Rublevsky played a6. Very nice move. Let's first eliminate the option of taking on b5. Bishop takes b5. We take on b7, and we see that the black queen is overloaded. It has to protect the bishop, the pawn on e5, and the queening square. The only way to do that is the yellow square e8, and the queen can't reach that square. So the queen is overloaded. We either queen or we make or we win the bishop. Queen takes b5. We don't have to look at. We can just take it, and this will be a new queen. Okay, so taking on b5 is not an option. So Bacrot naturally took on a6. Now if we take on a6, the bishop here on d3 takes back. Nothing to be had there. So the idea must be b6. But you don't get full credit if you don't realize that you have to find something here. Bishop b5. We're attacking the pawn. What to do? If we push it, there's queen c7. And this pawn is going to drop. Okay, we might get this one back, but the pawn is going to drop. That's certainly not the idea of the combination. So what the hell did Rublevsky have in mind here? And this is it's just a fantastic move. And he had to see this, you know, before playing a6, of course. And not only this, but everything that follows, all the geometry. He played. Are you ready? Knight c4. We love these kind of moves where you put a piece on a square that's completely protected. Bishop and knight can capture, but both lose. Let's eliminate the easy one first. Bishop takes c4. Just b7. The pawn can't be stopped. No checks, no counterplay, nothing to think about. Fair enough. Queen takes c4 is played in the game. Okay, we take on e5 with jack. This pawn is called a queen. What to do? Let's first, once again, eliminate a move that wasn't played, king f7. This is bad because after b7, queen f1, king h2, and bishop c6, threatening mate, we have queen c7, which simply picks up the bishop. Okay, this sort of also exposes black's main defensive idea, which we'll see in the main line. So queen takes e5 check, king to h6. I'll briefly mention that going back to the back rank, you allow white to queen with check. So king h6 seems like the best try. Now b7 by Rublevsky, queen f1 check, and probably Bacrot was banking on this defense. Bishop c6, attacking the pawn and threatening mate. So it looks like he's winning the pawn on b7. But yeah, this is just brilliant. I mean, a6 was played like what, 7 moves ahead? Well, many moves ago, and now queen e3 check, and the geometry here is just beautiful. Variations first. If the king goes back to g7, there's queen c3, and you win the bishop. If g5, there's queen e6, and we win the bishop. So Bacrot banked on king h5. Okay. Well, you're threatening mate, and you're threatening my pawn. I'll calmly prevent the mate with f3. Black resigned. It's game over. We're gonna make a queen. If you take the pawn, you get checkmated. g4. And you know, this is like a chess study. You know, seeing all this when playing a6, unbelievable. King h4, only move, and queen h6, checkmate, Czechoslovakia. No soup for you, French toast in a bun, you know, whatever. Just I love games like these. Sort of, you know, a deep study like combination. I mean, it's just so much pleasure, and this is why we love this game. This is why we love this game. Hope you enjoyed this. See you in the next one. I'll find more gems like this. See you guys.